Good morning and welcome to Storytime. Today we are going to sing a song and tell a story and do a little activity all about sharing. We hope you have fun.
The more we get together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. 'Cause your friends are my friends and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be.
This is a retelling of a story called Button Soup by Doris Orgel, which in itself is a retelling of the very old story Stone Soup. Maybe you've heard Stone Soup before. It's been told many times in many ways. We hope you'll enjoy our version. It starts not so long ago with a kid about your age named Emily. Emily lived with her grandmother in a cozy little house. One warm day, they decided to go to the park. At the park, they ran into a mismatched dressed lady named Lenora. Lenora introduced herself to Emily and her grandma, and she asked, "Do you have anything to spare? I'm hungry." Grandma said, "I'm sorry, honey, but we don't." Emily felt bad. They had so much, and the lady seemingly had nothing. The next week, Emily was at the park again with her grandmother. She loved to swing on the swings and would swing on the swings until her hair was tangled and her elbows were tired from holding on. Again, there was Lenora. The woman smiled and waved at Emily and her grandmother. This time, she came up to them and held out a blue button. "Look at this amazing button I found. Isn't it awesome?" Grandma thought to herself it looked like a perfectly ordinary button, but she was intrigued by Lenora's excitement. She said, "That's a lovely button. What are you going to do with it?" "Make soup," Lenora answered. She rummaged around in her things for a moment and pulled out a big black pot and a wooden spoon. "Make soup?" Grandma said. "How are you going to make soup with a button?" Lenora replied, "Grab me some water and salt and pepper and you will see." Emily and Grandma hurried home and got the salt and pepper. Meanwhile, Lenora started a huge fire under the pot. It might have been a fire that was a little bit too big for the park, but that's for another day. When Grandma and Emily returned, they excitedly poured the water in the pot and added the salt and pepper. They put the button in, and Miss Lenora stirred the pot. As she stirred, bubbles rose to the top of the pot. People were starting to gather and ask Lenora questions. They weren't sure what was happening, but figured she was in charge of it. When she told them that she was making button soup, they muttered, "That isn't possible. Maybe she's a little bit confused." Emily spoke up for Lenora. In the loudest voice she could muster, she said, "This is going to be the best soup you've ever tasted. You'll see, it just needs a little, something." She couldn't think what. Lenora started singing, "Button, button in the pot. What can help a little or a lot?" Officer Bentley had been watching and started to think of the soups his mother made as a kid. She would always start with onions. "You need some onions," he said. "Wait a second, I'll be right back." He brought the onion and dropped it in the pot. Miss Lenora stirred the pot, and more bubbles rose to the top. Another man said, "Here, I have some carrots," and they dropped them in the pot. Pretty soon, lots of folks were bringing things. Some people Emily knew, some people she didn't. Mrs. White, her teacher at school, suggested some herbs: parsley and thyme. A little boy brought celery. The librarian brought noodles. Plop, plop, in they went. Parsley and thyme in the pot. Will they help the soup a lot? Lenora was singing again, and more bubbles rose to the top. The soup smelled better and better, but it was still missing something. She whispered to Lenora, and Lenora knowingly nodded and said, "Well, hurry back then." Emily rushed off. When she returned, she had a nice, juicy cooked chicken. It was leftovers from the night before. In the pot it went, and up the bubbles came. Out of nowhere, someone brought spoons and bowls. Grandma served everyone some soup. No one could believe how delicious the button soup was. Some people had seconds. Grandma and Emily had thirds. Pretty soon, the pot was almost empty. When it was empty, Miss Lenora grabbed the button. She flipped it high into the air, and when it landed in Miss Emily's palm, she was gone. Whoosh, just like that. But wouldn't you know it, Emily still has that button, and it makes every soup absolutely delicious. What is the lesson of the story, my friends? You can start with an empty pot, but if each person adds just a little, you can make something wonderful. The end.
Hey, can I borrow your bouncy ball? Nope, it's mine. I'm playing with the wall.
Want to play catch or basketball?
Can't you see I'm playing with the wall?
Maybe if we share, we can double the fun.
Maybe if we share, there'll be more than just one. Nailed it! Boom.
We hope you enjoyed these songs and stories. Join us next month for stories and songs all about snow, right here on our Facebook page, same place, same time. Next week, we will have these craft kits out available to go along with our story time today. Don't forget to stop by and pick up one of our craft kits. It is a share a place at the table mat. You can take this home and make it and share it for Thanksgiving. Again, we hope you've enjoyed this, and don't forget to join us next time. See you soon. Bye.